everybody. Welcome to Time to Thrive. I'm excited for our guest today. Her name is Laura Stewart. She is the Vice President of Canada's top real estate firm, REC Canada. She spent 8 years helping over 1,200 investors build out their real estate portfolios. Today, as the owner of From the Ground Up Media, she now helps other real estate agents achieve success through content creation and building community. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you so much, Bethany, for having me. I'm super pumped today.
I got to tell you, content creation is like one of my all-time favorite topics. And it's because I just love doing it. I'm a creative. I love the whole process of content creation. We actually just launched a Write a Book in 30-Day challenge today in our membership. So we're, trying to teach others about content creation as well. So you and I are like kindred spirits, and I'm excited that you're here.
I love it. It's a complete game changer. So we'll start with that. Complete game changer for your business.
Okay, so we're going to do something really random to get started. Here, okay, pick a number between 1 and 5, and then 6. That will be your question.
Question 6. Oh gosh.
Oh, well, question 6. I'll have to add another card. Okay. Sorry,
you said 1 and 5?
It's okay. We'll go with 6. I picked another card.
I already messed up the instructions. I thought you said 1 and 10. Okay, 4. Oh, Lord. We're starting off good here, Bethany.
Okay. Your question is, what do you consider yourself an expert at? Ooh. This should be an easy one, but you might surprise me. I don't know.
Bethany, I think I am going to surprise you. I actually really consider myself a Jill of all trades, in all honesty, and master of none. My background has given me so many different outlooks on so many different things. And I know a lot of people say like the riches are in the niches, and I can totally appreciate that. For me, what's worked well is I've tended to surround myself with people who really are experts at certain things, and I have them doing around me what they're really, really good at. And I think just me being kind of that Jill of all trades, I've been able to like look at my business and my real estate from like the 30,000 foot view because of all those different things. So I actually think I'm like an expert at nothing, but kind of a bit of an expert at everything.
I love that answer. I'm one of those people that like to do all the things too, sometimes to my own detriment, because, too many ideas, not enough time, not enough energy to make them all happen. But I think that's true of most successful entrepreneurs, right? We lay in bed at night and we just dream and scheme. And some of that secret sauce, I guess, is to really figure out how to prioritize and keep ourselves focused.
Yeah, I think it's all in the delegation, right? Like biggest thing I've probably learned is I don't have to be good at everything. And like the straight A student in me, like that is painful sometimes because I always thought I had to be amazing at everything. But you really just need to be able to know enough about certain things to be educated, to be smart, to have meaningful conversations, but you don't actually have to do the work when you're running a company. Certainly at the start when you're small and it's probably a company of one, you do, but eventually you grow to the point where you can have other people be experts in their field and you're just overwatching. So that's been a game changer also on top of the content.
Yeah. And then there's growing pains that come with that too, like being able to let go. I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, and if you've not heard of it, it's like it's like a foundation that's been funded by Goldman Sachs to next level entrepreneurs and business owners to help create jobs and growth and all of that kind of thing. And they had us in. It's very intensive. It's over 12 weeks. And they had us in live one-on-one workshop settings. And I just remember them saying to the room that you have to, as a business owner, you have to get comfortable with being okay with 80% of the way excellent done, right? And the whole room in unison just moaned, because it's hard to accept anything less than that 100%.
I've been that person where I've said, well, I could just do it better myself, or I could do it faster myself. But unfortunately, when you have that mindset, you don't get very far because, yeah, you might be faster at it today than the other person because you don't want to train them. But in time, by training somebody else, you never have to worry about it again. And so now I try to live my life by done is better than perfect. Although
Yes.
that's difficult for someone like myself because I've always just done everything by myself. But I think that's such a great lesson to learn. Like 80%, that 80, like if someone on your team can bring something to 80%, now you have the opportunity to either turn that 80 into 100, but with a lot less time from you, or
Yeah.
just leave it be at 80. And what you'll learn is that 80% is usually good enough, quite frankly.
Yeah. To get done what you need. So
Yeah.
let's talk a bit about content creation. And I mentioned before, I just love creating content. I mean, I do it for the membership. I mean, always like coming up with new courses, new workshops. I mean, I just love it. Why is it so important for business owners or real estate agent to think about content creation as part of their strategy?
Yeah, so I tend to work with people who are small business owners, but really they're kind of the top of the funnel in terms of branding, right? They're the face of their own company. And I always say this to people in terms like what's a personal brand? What's a brand? Is usually where I start. And that's your reputation, right? It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. And unfortunately, no matter what you do in life, someone is saying something about you when you're not in the room. And it might be good, it might be bad. And the whole idea of brand, having a brand, a personal brand, is that you're a little bit more thoughtful about what you hope people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And so if people are going to be talking about you anyways, you might as well kind of navigate that narrative to suit your needs a little bit more. And one way to do that, certainly very easy way to do it nowadays, is by doing the content. So if I'm on social media or I put out blogs or I'm on YouTube, long form content, I'm in control of the narrative. I'm in control of the topics I talk about. I'm in control of the experience I share, the stories that I share with people, all in the hope of really allowing people to get a sense of who I am so that they hopefully can trust me so that eventually they'll be willing to do more business with me. People tend to do business with people, not companies. People
Right.
tend to interact with and enjoy people more than companies. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like if I needed a new painter for my house, I wouldn't probably just search like Toronto painter because I'm speaking to you from Toronto. I would probably ask a friend who lives in the area, like, do you have a good painter? We always want that referral, and personal branding can really do that for you. And I think content is one of the ways that you can kind of get ahead of it. And like I said, really dictate what that narrative is, being in control and getting out there. And the beauty with what content really does for me is that it allows me to have similar conversations at scale. So as a real estate agent, what we normally do is we go to someone's house and you do a listing presentation. And it's just me with that one person. And I'm trying to educate them on my thoughts on the market, my thoughts on marketing, branding, what the strategy is going to be to list their home, maybe some staging. But content allows me to speak to everybody. So it's like I'm having that conversation with hundreds and thousands of people all at once. And so it really, really allows you to scale your business, no matter what business you're in.
You know, I think one of the struggles that a lot of times business owners or real estate agents might have about content creation, that is a lot of the content creation strategies are the long game versus the short game, right? So there's not necessarily, unless it's like a lead magnet or, you know, something very specific like that, there's not an immediate return on investment. Can you speak to the ROI on content creation strategies and how you talk your clients through that barrier, I guess, to moving forward with something that's a little bit more long term?
Yeah, this is a conversation, Bethany, I've had so many times with other real estate agents who have come into my office, because real estate agents notoriously will say, put out a Google AdWord and Google ad, and they'll get a bunch of new lead generation, and they know the exact ROI on the dollar spent. And so that's their frame of reference. That's their mindset when they come in to speak with me. And so the question they always ask me is, what is the ROI on content creation? And the irony here is that it's zero, but indefinite. So it's both of those things. There really is no way for you to monetize personal brand, because you'll never know what your efforts, like, was it this video that got me this lead? Was it the fact that I sent out emails and followed up with phone calls? Was it that they saw me on the bus stop? Was it all of those things combined? And so you'll never really know where the source truly came from. And a lot of these things take so much time. So you're building brand over the course of, I would say, give it 2 real years before you're really going to see any type of return on it. But to me, once you have that brand and people start to know you and trust you and want to do business with you and refer you to their friends and family, really at that point, now it's an infinite ROI, because now your brand's kind of doing its thing while you're asleep. So
Right.
people are sharing your videos while you're sleeping. People are sharing your Instagram image that they thought was educational with their friends and family, again, while you're sleeping or while you're on the phone. And I mean, there's just no Google ad and there's no direct ROI that can really do that same thing for you, like a true personal brand can.
Right. Right. Well, so if we have no strategy at all right now, if someone's like listening to this podcast and they're like, I have zero content creation strategy, what's a good place for them to start?
Yeah, what I generally say to this, and it's kind of like that, done is better than perfect idea here, is that if you're doing something that's better than nothing, I'd rather you just start and start to get over a lot of the insecurities. I think what holds most people back is not that they don't have a content calendar. It's not that they don't have the right equipment or the right camera or the right lighting, or they don't have a podcast and they don't have a community, whatever the excuses are. Generally speaking, the reason why people aren't starting, because they already know it. I'm not telling you anything new here. You already know you should be doing content. It's that you have some type of insecurity. It's that you think you're not attractive enough. You don't like how your voice sounds. You don't think anyone thinks you're intelligent or experienced enough to care about you.
Yeah.
And all these things hold people back. And so I implore you to really look at the reason why you haven't started already, and understand that putting out a post today, no matter what the lighting looks like, no matter if you had a pimple on your face that day, whatever it is, it's better than doing nothing. So I would honestly just start. I know that's unfortunate because it's not like I have this master plan for you, but there's no blue magic pill here. Like it's about doing something consistently and waiting and having patience. It's not fun. It's kind of like dieting and then actually keeping the weight off. I have an undergraduate degree in nutrition, so I like to use this as my example often, right? Where we think, everyone used to ask me when I was in my nutrition degree, like, how can I lose 30 pounds? It's actually quite easy to lose 30 pounds. The hard part is keeping it off. And so you need to find that balance of what you need to do, but everyone knows what to do. To eat fruits and vegetables, to eat lean meat, to eat whole grains, not to eat processed foods. Everyone knows those things, but they don't want to do it because they don't want to wait the year and a half that it might take to actually lose the weight and do it in a way that's sustainable. The same thing is with content. It's putting something out there and then waiting. Now, if I had to really give some concrete advice on where to start, I would probably say start with something like a macro piece of content. So a long form piece of content, just like what you're doing here, Bethany, with your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a long form video piece of content that now we can throw that up on YouTube. And now what we can do is take the audio and we can throw that up on Spotify and all podcasting platforms. And now what we can also do is maybe give it to Fiverr or give it to a niece or a nephew, or maybe you have some special skill set in editing and you're going to clip this up into maybe 5 or 6 little clips that are valuable to your audience. And you're going to start posting those on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and you're going to really start having a full presence everywhere. But the beauty with that strategy is that you only had to take, say, 30 minutes to an hour to shoot the content. It's not like you're doing it every single day. Everyone can find, no matter how busy you are, everyone can find 30 minutes to shoot a macro piece of content. And now it's about whether or not you take the time to do the editing. If you have some extra cash, maybe you outsource it to a company. Right. But ideally, that would really give you like a full week's worth of content, and it only took 1 hour of your time versus you trying to come up with some clever TikTok video every day that's trendy and trend worthy. And now your wife or your husband is sitting there with the camera and they're not even a good camera person and they're shooting it for like an hour and a half, all for you to just get one piece of content that you decided not to even post anyway because you didn't like the lighting at the end of the day. Like that, no one has that kind of time because we're business people. We're not
Right.
sitting here to be influencers. I'm not trying to get paid to promote product on my Instagram page. I'm trying to promote myself and my business. And so the name of the game then is speed and consistency. So that's a great way to get into it.
One of the things that I like to think about in terms of content creation is how I can tie them into my business goals. One of my business goals and for this podcast is to demonstrate thought leadership in the area of marketing, and to draw people in to learn more about our Time to Thrive membership for business owners, where we do marketing training and that kind of thing. And so this is fully aligned with that, right? Creating a piece of content, the podcast, the YouTube video, our little snippets are called 1 Minute to Thrive that we do when we break them up. We do like quote graphics that go out all over. We tweet it and then screenshot the tweet, do all that kind of stuff. The thing is, all of those pieces of content fully align with our goal. Our goal is to attract people to the Time to Thrive membership. And so I think that would help people understand the value of the investment of doing content creation if they understood how it fit with a goal that they had in their business. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's kind of interesting. And I like that perspective. It's funny because for a lot of real estate agents, we're taught, like right from the schooling that we had to go to, is that everything needs to be followed up with an ask, right? A call to action. And I think that's that's the mindset of a real estate agent. Like, I got to get business. I got to get business. And they use every opportunity to get business, whether it's a flyer or a phone call, even at a cocktail party with friends. It's let me get your card. Let me get your contact information, or handing out their own business cards. I was at a wedding the other day. I'm standing out on the street waiting for my Uber. And this real estate agent comes up to me and starts handing me his card. And I was like, dude, I am a real estate agent. And he's provided me no value. He's provided me no value. And so I think if your macro goal, like, yes, we all want our businesses to do better. But what if you kind of looked at it like, my goal is to help educate people? Yeah. And that was the only goal of your content, was to help educate people. And you used every opportunity to give away all the trade secrets. And at the end of it, you never asked for anything. So I'll say, guys, these are 4 closing costs you need to know when you're purchasing a pre-construction condo here in Toronto. And I'll go over the closing costs. What I see most real estate agents do is they're giving the education. They learned that, maybe from me, maybe from somebody else. But then at the very end, they'll say, if you're thinking about purchasing a pre-construction condo, call me. And it's like as the viewer, they're expecting you to be that sleazy salesperson. They're expecting you to be the typical realtor. And now you just did it. You asked for something. You gave something. That's like, when do we do that in life? Like, you need to give without the expectation of receiving. And I think if you play that kind of long game, what you end up finding is, I don't know if it's karma, fate, God, whatever it is, it comes back around. Like, it always does, but you just need to have the patience. And so to me, that should be the goal, which is to educate the public on what you're doing. Obviously, what you're doing, you're passionate about it. You believe in what you're doing, hopefully. Yes. And so now you're just giving away that information for free without ever asking for something from anyone. People will do the digital deep dive. People will then go on your YouTube page and be like, who is this person? Is she even a real estate agent? Like, why is she talking about real estate? Like, she knows what she's talking about. Oh, she's actually sold a lot of real estate. Okay, well, maybe I should be listening to her. Or on your Instagram profile, they'll go to your profile and they'll find out what you're up to. They'll figure it out. You don't need to yell it from the rooftops that you're a real realtor. Right. Give away the information. You don't need to say, hi, my name is Laura and I'm a realtor. And now I'm going to give you 4 tips. Just give the tips and move on and let people kind of figure it out for themselves. And you'll find that you'll start getting those direct messages a lot more frequently. That's really great advice. And, just in marketing in general, the marketing industry in general, if you think about the way that it has evolved over the past 30 years, for example,
it used to be very transactional. It used to be we would buy a TV ad and we would pitch, and then people would come to our store and buy the product, right? Today, it's much more relational. Everything is like it is in digital world where it's much more about engagement and community and that kind of thing. So building affinity is much more important than what, as you were just saying, you don't need to pitch, because everything that you do, that you put out there with content is moving that relationship along the customer journey, as you will, if you think of it that way. So then it doesn't feel like a waste of time. It's just part of the process, right?
I think where people go wrong in their mind is they don't have the concept of principles of plenty. They think that there's very little business to go around. In Toronto, there are 76,000 real estate agents on the Toronto Real Estate Board. We have the most saturated group of real estate agents in North America. So it's very, very competitive. And I think that makes people do some things that is kind of sleazy sometimes, because they think if I drop this one client and I don't go for the ask and I don't get their business right away, I'm going to lose them to somebody else. And they also look at their content like that. Like if I come across not professional, if I come across other than I am, I might lose my one client. The beauty though really is you have to just look at business like there's more than enough to go around. There really is, because the cream always rises to the top. And maybe that's not you, but maybe then you need to be in another field. Like it's the 80-20 rule. The majority of deals are done by the top 20% of people. Mm-hmm. And so are you going to be that person? And what makes them the top 20% is that they actually truly care about their clients and they don't steer their clients in the wrong direction. And they're not just going for that sale. Oftentimes my clients will say, look, I'm thinking about listing my property. And me and my team talk them out of doing that. We say, hold on, why are we getting rid of the property? Like, always hold on to the property. I would get paid for them to list that property, but instead we try to figure out other ways for them to maybe pull out some equity and buy another property. And so I spend more time teaching about growing out a portfolio than just trying to get that one deal. And I think that's where the white space is. There's not enough good professionals. What you end up realizing in a lot of these competitive industries is like most people are not very good. It's not hard to be one of the best, but you really have to put your client first versus your single transaction, right? And being commissioned, having that commission breath.
Yeah. What I really want to pull out of what you just said there is, and I think this affects a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate agents, of course, is that if we approach our business from a scarcity mindset, we are automatically putting ourselves in a deficit position. Because anything to do with sales, people can smell desperation a mile away, right? And all that does is make them feel like they can't trust you because you feel desperate. There's a smell of desperation around you. But as you were talking about approaching people from that relationship standpoint of let's figure out what's really best for you. You're investing in that relationship over a long term, but you're also creating a raving fan, right? You're creating a brand ambassador. It's not enough to just work with people and hope that they talk about you. We got to elevate that and wow, surprise, delight at every turn. So they come out of it like they can't stop talking about you. It's not just a passive, oh yeah, my real estate agent, they were okay. Or, this business that I worked with, they were okay, right? Those aren't the kind of fans that we want. We want raving fans. We want people who are are full hardcore. If you don't work with them, you're crazy. Brand ambassadors. And we do that by the way we treat them, right?
I'm laughing over here because you nailed it on the head. I mean, people generally don't have very many good things to say about realtors. They shit on us all the time because they think we're sleazy. And so you already have an uphill battle. We have what we call our guide to wow service, which is a set of principles that me and my team all follow, which is how in every step of the transaction or the client journey can we wow them? How many times can we get them to say, wow, that was different.
Yeah.
Right. Versus just getting the deal done. I think if you use that as your like tracking system on how well you're doing, the number of wows you get from a client, and you focus on just doing that. And that doesn't just mean giving them a gift when the deal is done. Like,
That's
you kind
right.
of owe them a gift when the deal is done. But did you give them a gift before the deal was done? Like, why is it
Yeah.
always after you made $1 that you choose to now spend money on that person? What, every single time? So my team, when now we're going into sales a little bit, but if we're on the phone with someone and I just found out 2 weeks ago, one of my clients, her husband tragically passed away. And she just kind of said that in passing. The deal was already done from like 6 months ago, and she just had some questions about it. And then we, send them something. We have clients who it's a big anniversary. We sent them to a hockey game. We bought them tickets for no reason. They weren't in the process of buying, but it's doing those little things along the way. And they don't have to be expensive things. Like I just said, 2 expensive things, but they can be really small things, like offering your services. During COVID, we called all of our clients and said, like, look, do you need someone to pick up groceries for you? That, like, a simple little thing like that, which was like, oh my God. And no one took us up on it. So, people are already probably thinking in their head, yeah, but how would I actually do that? People won't necessarily take you up on things. Maybe you get the odd one, but what they started saying is, oh my gosh, no, I don't need your help, but let me know how I can help you. I would love to help the community, and you're bringing people together. And it makes for a much nicer experience, because I was not a born salesperson. Like, if you ask anyone around here, I'm not a salesperson at all. It's not in my blood. I have no interest in it, really. But I got into the real estate industry because I felt like there was a need to kind of turn it on its head. And I felt like it required someone who actually cared about their clients. And I know there's lots of people like me. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but there's not enough, quite honestly. There's not enough people in the industry doing that. And I felt like I could really be that advocate for all realtors. I wanted us to all level up. So I hope that anyone who's listening says, like, am I going to be one of those people who level up, or am I going to be the sleazy salesperson? Luckily for me, there's no salesperson in my blood. So I'm not naturally gravitated that way anyways. But if that is you, that's a great thing. You have a skill set that I wish I had. But at the same time, you have to marry that a little bit with don't take advantage of people just because you are able to manipulate. And I say that, and I don't mean it the way how bad it sounds, but you are able to manipulate people to buy or sell with you. That's a great strength, but you have to do so ethically. And so now it's your responsibility to kind of figure out how you can wow them in other ways and really put your stamp of approval on this business. And we all need to level up a little bit.
Yeah. And I think what you mentioned about the sleazy agent, right? Or the perception that there's all these sleazy agents. I think that's the minority. I think there's a lot of really good people doing business or real estate or whatever. They just don't know how to elevate their business. They don't know how to wow, surprise, delight their customers. One of the things we teach is we call it touch point mapping, where you take the customer experience, before the purchase process, and the post-purchase, and you figure out all the ways that your human system or product is touching your customer. And then you examine every single one of those circles and figure out how you're going to make it different, how you're going to surprise them, how you're going to delight them, how you're going to wow them. And when you're done, you have this incredible map of really creating these powerful brand ambassadors for your business, whether it's real estate or whatever it is. I think just a lot of people just don't know how. Like they put their shingle out, and it was like, well, I put my shingle out. I put an ad in the paper.
Is a shingle a sign?
Yes, the shingle.
Oh, okay.
That's what we used to call it, back in the 100 years ago, they would call it putting the shingle out, which was your name, on the door, and then just meant you were in business, right? Back then, you didn't have to do all the lights.
People think that's all we do. Like, oh, you put a sign out on the lawn and you get the deal done. And I appreciate what you said. I do think the average realtor that I come across really means well. Like,
yes.
I don't think it's a bunch of people trying to hurt people, But I do think when you don't have, back to the principles of plenty, when you don't have that mindset, you start doing things that you didn't intentionally want to do, but now you're counting dollars. You're thinking, well, I don't know if I would send this person a gift because I don't know if I'm going to get that money back, and I got my mortgage payment. Like, I get it. Life happens, and for commission people, like, their cash flow is a real problem.
It's a thing. Yeah.
It's very, very stressful. But some way, somehow, I think if you really, really want to succeed and you want to be at the top of your game, you have to find a way to say, I'm going to spend the money today and it's going to come back around. I just might not see it with this person, but maybe it's your next client. Like, you're putting that good juju out in the world in hopes that it comes back. And I think it does. I mean, I believe that it does. So I agree with you in that. I don't think that's the average real estate agent or salesperson in general, or business owners. I mean, business owners have a bad rap as well. But at the end of the day, like, that's what you're competing against. And you have to somehow find a way to change that narrative, at least with your group of people. And if I can use content as an example, what I find people find with the content is they think, like, they'll come on and they'll have their suit and their tie and their, you know, their image in their signature from photos that they took 20 years ago. They look nothing like that, but that was the last time they felt good about themselves or whatever it is. And then, you know, also, like, as soon as the camera turns on, they change. And now all of a sudden they're this like news anchory person. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, what just happened with the person that I was just speaking to, who we were laughing about going out for cocktails later and how we both love wine? And it's like, we're counting down the hours till Friday afternoon or whatever it is. Like, what happened to that person? And everyone's like, well, I don't want people to know that because they might not do business with me. Because what if they don't drink? Or what if they think that's tacky or whatever it is? Like, you know, replace wine with anything else. The thing is that, again, principles of plenty, you're going to sort through all that crap. You're going to find the people who are like, I like this person. Because if you're just that person in the suit, you're that same, it's like, yeah, you're not offending anybody. You're not, and not that anyone wants to offend anybody, but you're not like repelling anybody, but you also don't stand out. You also don't mean anything to anybody. And chances are, if your friends were to tell you, this is what I like about you, it's not because you're super professional. I rarely hear people say, you know, I really like that person because they're so professional. They like you because you're relatable. They like you because you give something to the group of friends that they don't have otherwise. Maybe you're the funny one. Maybe you're the best cook. Maybe you're the one that does magic tricks, whatever it is. You have that one little unique thing that makes you so special. And if you don't share that with the world, now you're just a guy in a suit. And there's lots of those out there. So be confident in knowing that you put yourself out there and you're going to repel some people, but what you're really going to do is attract, like you said, your brand ambassadors. So the content helps you sort that way as well.
Yeah, that's all terrific. I think too, we sometimes get strange ideas about what we think is, quote, professional. You know, because we're looking at everybody else. We're looking at the other agent that put out this, you know, video of some kind, or we're looking at social media and looking at what another business did on social media, and we start comparing instead of just being our own genuine selves. Because the people who align with our brand are not going to be attracted to us if we're not acting like our brand. Like if we're pretending to be something else, we're not going to find the right customers for us.
Well, that's important. So you need
there's a lot of cray out there. So we really want to attract the right people to work with.
It's funny because when I say brand, you know, a lot of times people say, well, I want my brand to be like Kim Kardashian. Sorry, she's the first person that came to mind. Like, I want to be like a bombshell person or whatever. And I look at them and I'm like, really? Because that's not what you're showing to me here. So it's like, don't make the brand something that's not you just because you think it's attractive in somebody else. That's Kim Kardashian's brand. You make it your brand. The closer and more authentic you are to your real self that mirrors your brand, the better you're going to be. Because once you start lying as a brand and saying like, you know, I'm a super put together person when really like behind the scenes, everything's a disaster. You're going to find it's an uphill battle because you're going to be like lying almost in a way. And if people kind of find out that you're lying, now you're not only just a sleazy salesperson, you're also a liar. So now
Mhm.
you got two things that's
Now
working
you got a
against you.
trust issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really encourage people to don't create a brand. Go to your best friends and say, I need you to describe me in 3 to 5 different ways. Can you do that for me? Do a little survey with 15, 20 people. You're going to find that there's patterns.
Mhm.
Those patterns are who you already are. So don't
Yeah.
fight it, accept it. And they might not all be things that you love about yourself, but quite honestly, they're probably things that make you a little bit quirky, a little bit unique. My friends, they say I'm like the most competitive person. And that sometimes like I like, but at the same time, people don't always want to play board games with a person who's like going to make it seem like it's a life or death situation. And so there was at times where I've downplayed that in myself because I want to be likable. I want people to want to play games with me and like invite me to things. I don't want people to be like, oh, she's going to take this way too seriously. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? That is who I am. Laugh at yourself. It is what it is. And then almost lean into it. Like some of those things that you see as negative, they're not negative. Lean into that. That's actually probably a strength of yours because it makes you different than everybody else. And so now I try to lean into it more. And I make competitions around my office all the time. Like, if we get this many calls out, maybe we'll do something like who's going to win. And that, I've been like that since I was a kid. So there's no changing that. So I could lie and I could try to hide it, but it's a lot easier just to free myself of it and say, world, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. You're either going to like me or you're not going to like me, and then move on with it.
This is a good segue into the whole concept of our comfort level with putting ourselves out there. Because we do have that idea that we have to look like that other video that we saw or be, so-called professional. And our definition of that is perfection, right? But people are actually more attracted to and connect better with imperfection because they know they're imperfect. And so that it makes you more relatable, right? If you might stumble a little bit or you make a mistake, or like I had a coughing fit right in the middle of a podcast one time. I just left it in. I was just like, you know what? People cough. We're just going to have to move past it.
See, you got me laughing. Like you got me to smile. So like most people are around real estate agents, if people are watching this episode, not listening to it, like with their arms crossed, like they're, you got to get people to go like this. And you just giving me that really like human element. And it doesn't have to be your deepest, darkest secrets. Like I don't need to know everything that's going on in your life on social. Although if you want to share that, that's great too. But just like being a real human, showcasing that like people cough. People sometimes have pimples. People sometimes like, here's what's funny. And I should actually, after this, I'll look it up. There are studies that are done where they put someone's face and then they cut and cut off half of their face and then mirror image the other side. So it's completely symmetrical face. And then they ask people to rate which person's more beautiful, the symmetrical face or the real face as it is, where there's two different sides. And everyone always picks the natural face, where there's like on this side you have a freckle but it's not, on this side you have an ear that's bigger but on this side it's not. People are more attracted to your imperfections than they are to you being like a perfect person. So I'm gonna look up those stats because I think that would really drive it home for a lot of people. Like you yourself as a person, like think what you love most about your dog or your children. Like when your kids are acting up, I mean, I don't have kids, but I see my friends with kids and they're acting up. People are like laughing and they're trying to be keep a straight face because they're like, I'm going to have to wrap around my kid for this. But they're actually like, that's my kid. Like my kid's a total tool bag. And they think it's funny because that's the human element to it. And so, yeah, you're right. Getting comfortable, putting yourself out there is hugely important. And it doesn't happen overnight. This stuff takes time. I've been doing content now really consistently for 2 years, but somewhat consistently for 3 or 4 years now. And the more I did, the better it got. So I don't expect you to just like day one be like, I'm bearing my soul to the world. Here's who I am. But like, let's start to take off some of that armor that we've spent our entire adulthood putting on. Let's try to take it off piece by piece by piece. And then once it's off, I mean, my God, it's like, I can breathe again. Like the world just seems a much better place because now you're not coming from a place of fear. You're not worried if people are going to judge you. I know people are going to judge me. Great. Move on. They've been judging me my whole life. And guess what? I've probably been judging them too. And they're not so great. And so now that we all know that we all kind of suck, let's just deal with it and go make our businesses the best we can. Let's worry about the things that matter, which is the service that you're providing and growing your own company to something that you're proud of.
Well, you touched on consistency a little bit. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know sometimes we start things with all the good intentions. There's something in podcast world called pod fade, which is like the average podcast never makes it to the 25th episode, right? Because they started out like on fire and then it fizzles out. Mm-hmm. So how can we, are there some strategies? Is there a mindset that we need? What do we need to like kind of help us with staying the course, with being consistent?
Yeah. I have agents come into my office who are asking my media company to do content for them, right? And they'll say, Laura, I have this great idea for a show. I'm going to be sitting on a couch. I don't know where this is. Maybe we'll need a studio, and I'm going to have all these amazing guests, right? Like I'm going to have on all the biggest real estate people in North America on my show. It's going to be lights. And then I picture like the opening scene that we're going to showcase in front of the show with me walking in and doing all these things. It's going to be funny. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what's your Instagram profile? You haven't posted anything beside pictures of your dog for the last 5 years, and suddenly you're a talk show host. Like, how are we going from 0 to 100? I appreciate big, audacious goals. So I'm not telling people not to dream. I'm a dreamer myself. Have those goals. Those are important. But can we just start with one? Can we just start with one video? And how about we just start with one video once a month? And what I then hear is like, no. Like, I know this is what I need to do. I need to be doing a video a day. I'm like, I get it. So let's do a video right now. No. I need to practice. So it's going to take you all day to do a video. I'm sorry, Mr. Realtor. Do we not have actual business to do today? Oh, yeah. I got a bunch of showings later tonight. I'm like, oh, so you don't have the time to actually take a full day to record something? No. Okay. Right. So why don't we just take this month and record one video? So give yourself the permission at the start to let it happen organically. So don't bite off more than you can chew. Do one piece of content once a month. Maybe it's a podcast once a month. Once you do that for 6 months, now I believe you. Now I'm like, you're a real podcaster. Okay, so now let's up the ante. Let's do it every other week.
Yeah.
And you do that for another 6 months. I'm like, okay, now you're committed. A year of podcasting. That's, you've at least done 12, probably 18 at this point. Okay, now let's try and do every week. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because once you've told the world that you're coming out with a weekly podcast, for example, and then you miss one episode, now you're down on yourself and you're like, I suck. I failed. Everyone's judging me. First and foremost, no one's thinking about you, but in your mind, you think everyone's judging you. And now you've given it up altogether because you feel like if you come back 2 weeks later and you have another show, you think people are going to be like, oh, but you said it was every week and it took 2 weeks. Again, no one's thinking of you, but you're concerned that they will. And so you'll never do it again. So let's start slow and then work our way up to it. Don't go the other way. Have those big, audacious goals, but let's just start with one.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. I do post like every 2 weeks because I feel that's all I have capacity for. That's all I felt like I could commit to. I would love to do it every week. I just don't have, that bandwidth to do it. But it's interesting. One of my favorite podcasts is That Will Never Work with Mark Randolph he's a co-founder of Netflix. And he has people on the show who have problems in their business, and he kind of just dissects the problems and helps them figure out how to overcome them. So I'm really hooked on this podcast. He has zero consistency in terms of when he posts. So I'm always checking it. Like, ooh, do we have a new one yet? Do I have a new one yet? But
it's interesting. That keeps it interesting for the viewer, right? A lot of times people will say, well, on Instagram, I need to have the same filter on everything, so everything looks the same, and I want to follow a format. And I get it, because a lot of us, we use that as a method to kind of deal with our anxiety about something. So we feel like if we have the day planner and everything's in the day planner, that suddenly that makes us less stressed and more efficient. But what sometimes that does is it creates too narrow of a box that now you have to fit into, and it doesn't really allow for flexibility in life. And what I find is the best pages are when you don't expect something to be posted and it is, or they've been doing image, 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 and all of a sudden now it's a video. Or you've been doing like a raw video where you're shooting like just with your phone, like a selfie style raw video, and you post that, and you've been doing that for like a week. And then all of a sudden you come out with some like beautifully curated post-produced piece of content, or vice versa. Everything's post-produced. It's like, now I expect that. And then I see in your feed something pops up where it's like it's raw. You're laying on the couch and you're like, I just had a thought about something. And I'm like, now I'm interested again. So it's actually a great way for you to keep people's interest by not being kind of so stuck on a schedule. And so I think your point kind of proves that, is like being all over the place. It's fine. Why do you feel like it needs to be consistent in such a narrow scope? You need to be consistent in that it needs to continuously happen, but it doesn't need to be like, on Monday, I do my motivational Monday. On Tuesday, I do my tips for Tuesdays. On Wednesday, I do my way back playback Wednesday. Like, just start post stuff and get the engagement, and then see what people are kind of flocking to. You'll know pretty quickly what your community likes, what they see of yours. And that can kind of narrow it for you versus kind of being so rigid about it. And that's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, who wants that? No one wants a rigid person. So why would you make your profile rigid?
I love it. I'm kind of a rebel from way back. So just the idea of writing my own rules, it just appeals to me anyway. And I think most business owners are kind of like that. We're blazing a trail. Why not blaze it with our content strategy too? So
yes.
Yeah, right. So as we round it out, I want to give you the opportunity to share about your media company, what you guys do, and where people can find you.
Oh yeah, awesome. I never really expect this question because, as I mentioned before, I don't usually use these opportunities as a place to sell. But really, what we do, we founded this company, me and my business partner, about 18 months ago now, out of the necessity that real estate agents were asking us how we were doing so much content and wanting to learn from us. We gave away all the trade secrets. We told them who to hire, what to do, what the strategy should be, i.e., no strategy, just start posting. And no one did anything with it. And then so after hearing a bunch of times, like, can I just borrow your team, or can I rent your people for hire? We thought maybe there's something there. So now From the Ground Up Media is really a media service where we help people with their personal brands. We help people produce content, either short form tips for, say, Instagram and TikTok, or more long form webinars so that they can send it to their database. All with the intent of educating, not with the intent of building influencers. We are helping small business owners, entrepreneurs. We're not looking to make the next big Instagram grammer or influencer, I should say. Not that there's anything wrong with it. That's just not our business plan. So we really want to help like the small guy kind of level up their content. The best way to probably get a hold of us is through me, honestly. So you can connect with me on my Instagram page. I'm always giving tips about content on there too. So if you like anything that I had to say, feel free to join me there, or on TikTok. You'll get a lot more education. And that's Laura Stewart, T.O.
T.O. for Toronto.
For Toronto, yes.
Awesome. Laura, I appreciate you so much. I could sit and talk with you for hours and hours and hours. You're a kindred spirit when it comes to marketing and content creation, and just creating relationships with our customers instead of worrying about the transaction.
Well, thank you. And Bethany, quite honestly, I've done a number of these. A great a great strategy for people who might not want to start their own podcast or webinar show just yet. A strategy would be to ask other podcast hosts to have you as a guest. Chances are you have experience in something, you're an expert at something, or maybe you're like me and you're a Jill of all trades. But you can go on and share your experiences with other people, and that can kind of help you develop your voice over time. So that's a great strategy. But I say that because, Bethany, I've been on probably 60 other people's podcasts, if not more now, maybe more. And I'm always impressed by people like yourself who who runs such a conversational show. It's so much fun for me as a guest to not feel like you're trying to get me to stop talking. So I'm on to the next question. And so kudos to you. I know you've been doing this for a while now. So congratulations.